Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Olive Branch. I'm TJ Cates, and I'm here with a very distinguished guest who has an excellent voice, excellent history, and a really good project he's in to talk about today. Introduce yourself.
Thank you, TJ. My name is Robert Lee Long, also Rob Long. To those who I've had the pleasure of knowing all these years, was a journalist for many years, retired after about 20 years with the DeSoto Times-Tribune, and following the second chapter of my life, really a labor of love as curator of the DeSoto County Museum. We have artifacts there, TJ, ranging from prehistoric to the time when this area was underwater. A lot of people don't realize that.
I did not realize that.
Yes, sir, indeed. The Gulf of Mexico extended all the way up a little bit beyond Memphis. So most of our dinosaurs and our prehistoric creatures were water-dwelling creatures. So this is something that we have fossils and things from that period, the Cretaceous period and other periods, all the way up through Native American history, African American history. We also touch on our Jewish history. A lot of people didn't realize that we have a Jewish history in our community as well. We have a Holocaust exhibit that is bringing people from all over the world. It is truly outstanding. We have teachers here in DeSoto County schools that really gave rise and helped create that. Doug Thornton has just done a masterful job of creating that within our museum. So if you haven't been there, please come down. We're open Tuesdays through Saturdays from 10 until 5, but it's a journey back in time. It's a journey through your local history, some things that you might remember from your childhood. It's just a wonderful place, and it's an honor for me to serve the people of DeSoto County in that capacity.
It's amazing. That's all I can say because I've been there. I think it was about a year or so ago I went down, and I'd passed it 100 times on Commerce Street, just like everyone else, and it's close to the little log cabin in the church and everything that's been there, and I was just blown away at what you've done with it. Now, do you have a background in museums?
Well, I have
to set it up?
I have a background in history, of course, writing and the arts. I've always loved history. At Mississippi State, I studied history. Matter of fact, thought I would be a history professor, and then journalism started calling me that way. And now I'm in seminary. This is my third year of seminary, so I'm really enjoying that as well. But history has always mattered to me. You know, you don't know where you're going until you know where you've been. And I really feel like that we get to show this great history that DeSoto County has from its early origins with the prehistoric era all the way up through our Native American inhabitants to our early settlers. We talk about Olive Branch and brought a little show and tell diagram over here about Milton Blocker and Stephen Flynn, who were brothers-in-law. Who came to this area shortly after the Treaty of Pontotoc.
I don't know if I want to attempt to pick this up, but I guess we could.
Oh, we could.
Okay.
Sure, folks can see this. Thank you for helping me. But
I feel like Vanna White when she used to actually flip the letters.
Hey, there you go. Well, this is one of our mobile displays is here, and we go out into schools. I know that Sam Reichert and I have gone out to Blocker Cemetery. I've portrayed Lush Tubby. Of course, he has portrayed Milton Blocker, and we talk about those early days when Olive Branch was forming, when people moved into the area. We go all the way up into pretty much the present time, and I tell everyone when they come through the museum that Olive Branch is one of the fastest growing cities in America, and that is not in large part due, or is in large part due to the great history that it has. They really built on that history.
And we started this in 1840.
Well,
and the Westin House, which was named after the Westin, the first mayor.
That's correct.
And it's still standing.
It is still standing.
I like with history because sometimes we don't notice that it's right there in front of us, and everybody's always wondered what this little house is. And that's right. The new I'm focused really so much more on the new residents because they weren't raised here. They don't know everything that we know. And this little house that's across from the Sonic, next to the Dodgers Chicken. I mean, that was the first mayor, and it was built around 1900s. I noticed that was your very first picture.
Yeah, the Westin House is really neat here. It's got a lot of great history. It is used for all kind of events. And I'll tell you, TJ, you hit on something I think that is important. Our newer residents, when they come to an area, they want to put down roots. And one way of putting down roots is to come to a museum like the DeSoto County Museum, where you can see what went on before, and you can see how the town developed, and you learn these fascinating facts about people like Milton Blocker, who of course died in a steamboat explosion not long after coming to this area. There are many fascinating facts that we learn about this area when it was developing, but what a great history we have.
With development changing as much as it is, the landscape is so different. I was at the airport last week, and that's changing up quite a bit. The warehouses that are everywhere, the big businesses. Sometimes you've got to really protect the history because before you know it, it can get taken away from us, and we want to make sure that it's there. I personally like it. Now, Jerry Lee Lewis, I really enjoyed the display of that with the lights and the piano.
Right.
So
that was great. Dr. Franklin was able to get the traveling piano from Jerry Lee a couple of years ago. We've got other artifacts. We have a jacket that he wore on the Tonight Show with Johnny Carson. We have a 1955 early pressing of Great Balls of Fire.
Wow.
We have really got some outstanding things. Sam Phillips, the watch that he gave Jerry Lee when they were recognizing the 50th anniversary of Sun Records, we have that as well. Our blues archive is
oh my
fantastic.
gosh, Mississippi Blues is
Memphis Mini is you can punch. We love it. We're automating the museum where you can actually punch a little button on the wall, and Memphis Mini she belts out a blues song, and you almost feel like you're sitting there in a honky tonk or a juke joint, and she's standing there in front of you. But we're trying to really make this 21st century interactive, and TJ, we get people from all over the world.
I can
It's
imagine
amazing.
you do, because last year, for Father's Day 2 years ago, they just opened the Tennessee State Museum. And I told you this, and you had a bunch of people around you, and I don't know if you heard my compliment. Your museum, to me, is way better than what they just built for millions and millions in downtown Nashville. It has more artifacts up there. It seemed like they did more displays. They did a lot of photos. But you've actually somehow been able to actually get artifacts that you can actually be right there in front of. And that's one of my favorite things about history.
Well, thank you for saying that. And the credit really goes to the people of DeSoto County, whether it was in steamer trunks, stored in their attic, underneath their beds, in their closets. They did not throw things away. We get things all the time. A factory outlet bag was brought in the other day. You guys want this? And of course, I mean, everybody remembers the ladies saying, y'all come, and shop at the factory outlet stores. So we're able to...
Mid-South Factory Outlet.
That's right.
I heard it constantly.
And we're able, these touchstones of memory really resonate with folks.
Yeah.
It's just wonderful. The post offices, the railroad depots, from all of our cities, all that is a part of what we have to offer. So it is indeed a blessing. But the credit really goes to the people of DeSoto County.
Yeah.
They've come to us, and every square inch of the museum we feel like is used to utmost capacity.
It is. You have to circle it twice, is what I had to do.
You can spend the whole day there. We have people that do the Crumpler Ferguson log cabin. We're making renovations to them.
I didn't know that. That's great.
Thrilled to say that the Dean family and others, the Chisholm family, they have stepped forward and are going to enable us to do that. So that's something that we really anticipate get going here as this year progresses.
I like it a lot. I like that you're growing. I have a question, and mine might be a little bit off script, as you know I do. But what if somebody say that their parents are passing or their grandparents and they're finding things, they're not really sure the connection? Is there any way that they could bring that and maybe to the museum and donate it to the museum?
They can.
So we don't lose anything at a garage sale or a thrift store.
That is true. And I will say we can do all the research or have our researchers find out. But the most wonderful thing is you don't have to give it to us. You can just loan it to us. We'll draw up a little agreement where it is yours 100%. But rather than it just staying in your study or staying in your office, you can share it with literally thousands of people, and they get enjoyment. It's not just nostalgia, what we have. Really and truly, we feel like we're a mini Smithsonian. You're right, we have so many amazing things that other counties, my home county of Madison, they're growing so fast like we are. They don't have a museum yet. And we do, and it's been almost 20 years. I was a volunteer for many years. Absolutely love what I do. Here in the Olive Branch area, Jay Nichols, he's joined our board. We have 11-member board of directors.
He may be the third busiest man in DeSoto County.
I don't know about that.
We just saw him a second ago.
But He probably is. Jay and the folks are extremely busy doing wonderful things for the community. He's really big in the food effort that he that he does as well. But as far as myself, I truly love what I do. It's a blessing to be able to do that. And people, you're right, they could spend a whole day there. They could spend a whole day, and they can bring a lunch to the brown bag lunch out to the cabin and enjoy the old churches there. We actually have 3 buildings on site: the old Presbyterian Church, the Crumpler Ferguson log cabin, which dates about 1849.
Yeah, I love that.
And then our museum. So lots of things are planned. We just hope in future years for it to grow, and we continue to get the word out that you don't have to hop in the car and travel a long distance.
I think it's worlds better than 200 miles away.
Well, you're so appreciative.
You should check it out sometime.
Absolutely, I'm looking forward to going up to Nashville.
It was a great museum, and it was really pretty. I just didn't find yours is more. I always like show and tell at school. It made more to me than a teacher reading from a book. And when you can actually, and I do that because you're a pastor now. You call yourself a pastor.
Well, I am a pastor.
But
I don't have my divinity degree yet. I'm inching towards that.
One more thing, but
in my 50s, I'm having to go back to school.
I get more out of things that we would hear as a sermon, visual aids and things. I know that there was a preacher one time and he had a ladder and it was missing a step, and he was always imagining telling people to lift each other up. I'm more of a visual person, of course, with the video and things. So that's what I really love about your museum. Is there any way that somebody can maybe support? How are you funding on your museum?
Absolutely. This time of the year, we do send out letters of support beginning in January, looking ahead. We do have wonderful support from our cities, from the county. Mm-hmm. But as you know, to conserve, protect, showcase, have exhibits. We've got a civil rights exhibit coming to the museum in February from Archives and History in Jackson. The travel alone is kind of an expensive endeavor. Sometimes we get grants to help offset that. But any enterprise worth doing is going to be costly on occasion. Yeah. So yes, people may send tax-deductible donations. P.O. Box 866, Hernando, Mississippi, which of course is the county seat, 38632. Or Jay Nichols here with the City of Olive Branch. Mm-hmm. They can contact Jay. Jay is one of our directors.
That's nice.
If they'd like to make a contribution, but we could not do it without them, TJ. And thank you for saying that, because it gives me an opportunity really to pat them on the back for helping preserve their history, because it could be lost. All of this could be lost.
You're not buying and selling a product. You're not a retail establishment. Now, the exhibit that's coming in February for civil rights, is that tied in with Black History Month?
Well, it is tied in with Black History Month. And of course, 1964, which is the year of which it centers on, there were changes here in DeSoto County. There were changes all over the state of Mississippi and in the nation. And we're seeing history unfold this particular week, as history unfolded then as well. Mm-hmm. So history, there's really nothing new under the sun. Ecclesiastes said that. I'll borrow from I'll use a pastoral influence from that respect. But history does repeat itself. And I'll tell you, TJ, the danger is if we don't learn from history, we are going to continue.
Right.
Generation after generation after generation to repeat those same mistakes that we should have learned before not to repeat. But the human condition is very predictable, and we have not learned all the lessons that we can, from our past. But hopefully we will. I'm an optimistic person. I'm a half glass full kind of guy, and I do believe that seeing the history before us and kind of unfurled before us, we can take the steps we need to make to ensure and protect this rich history that we have. Now,
you and I shared a lot of our heritage in the American Indian and Native American, and you're Chickasaw, me Cherokee, and is that correct? That's correct.
Well, actually, I am Choctaw.
Choctaw.
Greenwood LaFleur, the last chief of the Choctaw before they left for Oklahoma, or the Oklahoma Territory, would be my fourth great uncle. Mm-hmm. My grandfather Long was from Carroll County, Mississippi, and that is where the LaFleurs and the Longs are from. And so the Chickasaw kind of teased me about the fact, because the Chickasaw and the Choctaw were cousins, but they were feuding and fighting cousins. that a Choctaw, and I'm just like 1/16 or something.
Yeah.
It's not, as closely blood related as some. But I do have that as part of my heritage and my history, and so they tease me about a Choctaw running the museum.
Yeah.
But I will say the language of both is really beautiful. Chukma would be hello in Chickasaw, and Halito would be hello in Choctaw. So there you go, a little bit of language lesson for the viewers out there in the language of people that were here before us. TJ, a lot of times we think that we're the end-all, be-all, that it all began with us, and the Chickasaw and the Choctaw and the other tribes in this area were here for thousands of years. And of course, the Trail of Tears is something we touch on.
I have a great-grandmother that was part of that one in the 1800s, my mom's side, the Cherokees. And that's how they ended up in Arkansas.
So yeah, your story there, I hope you will record and that you will be able to share that with family members. That is so important.
It is. We named my daughter after my great-grandmother. Lucinda is her middle name.
That is fantastic. And she can pass
and
that
I still
on.
have a picture, a random picture. Indians didn't like to have their pictures made.
That's right.
Yeah,
that's right.
so it's beautiful. I was just wondering what an honor it is for you to be able to, your heritage with Native Americans, and what the response is to that with your part of the museum. Have you had them in? Because I know we had a steak dinner one time.
Well, we did. The Chickasaw, this is fascinating. I know Sam and the rest of us went out to Lushpun-Tubby, the trail that we have here in Olive Branch, and Mr. Perry from the Nation was able to be out there with us that day. And it was just such an honor. This trail has been established now for many, many years. So the Chickasaw were very, very prevalent in this area. Pontotoc was the seat of government, and then there were settlements all throughout the ridges, and the Chickasaw liked to have their summer homes high up on the ridge where they could catch that breeze.
Exactly.
And then their winter house where they'd have packed earth, kind of a single chimney where they could stay warm in the winter. But Mr. Perry told me that this trail out here honoring Lushpun-Tubby, and one of the original Hall of Fame members was Lushpun-Tubby. So the people of Olive Branch have really reached out and embraced their collective Native American heritage. Isn't that great?
It's so wonderful.
So I just was so proud to be able to, we went all over the county, but to bring them to Olive Branch and show them this trail named for Lushpun-Tubby, which I wanted to share with our readers if I could.
So much information.
Well, no, I love it.
You're so knowledgeable, man.
You're too kind.
That's why I'm not talking a lot. So
I just want to say this because it's important, because the Chickasaw Nation shared this with us. Lushpun-Tubby means, in the heat of battle, he killed. He was a highly decorated warrior.
Wow.
Now, by the time that he sold this 1,280 acres to Milton Blocker and Stephen Flynn, this brother-in-law enterprise here, or to Milton Blocker, that is, he was a farmer. He had kind of put away his warring nature and was a peaceful farmer, but a highly decorated warrior in the Chickasaw Nation. And many of our school children have grown up with the story that he was a chief. And we don't want to take anything away from those stories. Those stories are important. People have embraced that. We've learned some things, that he was also a very highly decorated warrior. So we're able to kind of flesh out who this man was. And the Chickasaw Nation has informed us that, yes, indeed, he existed, and this is what his name means. And they're just able to share all that. But I'm excited about it. I've been told that shows, and that's important, because I want others to be excited too. Because history is so fascinating. When I have a kid tell me, or a young person, somebody told me kids are goats, baby goats, right? When I have a young person tell me that they are bored by history, I said, well, come and spend an hour at the DeSoto County Museum, and I assure you that you will not be bored, that you will be excited about history, and you'll learn about history. And they take us up on it, and they are. They're hooked.
I just think it's the best museum. And Mark Grisham, our friend, we talk every single day, and I told him you're coming in today. He wanted me to be sure and tell you hello.
Well, fantastic.
That he enjoyed visiting with you, and he's like you. The history that people have in their heads, and he can quote, and he can go back and tell you reasons why people did that in the Warriors too. So, I love how passionate you are about everything you're doing at the museum. And thank you for dedicating so much time to doing that, because you're a little spread thin sometimes.
Not at all. I'm blessed. I'm a blessed person. Thank you for saying that. I truly love what I do. And please come see us. We are open again from 10 until 5, Tuesdays through Saturdays. We get great crowds on the weekends as well as during the week. Olive Branch students have been out, especially at Blocker Cemetery. They've come out there and they've seen our living history presentations. Then they come to the museum. Now during COVID, this has changed a little bit. We hope to have this huge influx of students back out there like we've done all these years, but we go out to the schools. And the Olive Branch children, Chickasaw Elementary and Olive Branch Elementary and these other schools, the high school kids have been out there. You won't be disappointed. It is truly a jewel, an undiscovered jewel. It really is.
Let's talk about your operating hours and admission charges,
Okay.
and how they can find out more about them.
Certainly. We are a free museum. We do accept donations. We've got a drive underway to replace the light bulbs. We've got a lot of light bulbs in the building that kind of shed light, if you will, on history, literally and figuratively speaking. And so that is quite an expense that we undertake. So we have a little donation jar, if you will, and people are very generous. But they come there from 10 a.m. until 5. The last tour takes about 45 minutes. So if around the 4 o'clock hour in the afternoon, to be able to really enjoy the tour, they need to try to get there about 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Earlier would be great because they may want to go through and spend a little time looking at exhibits, you know. But
I think it's a great thing right now because it's cold, dark, rainy, windy, winter.
Right,
And this is
right.
an indoor thing, and there's no admission, so everybody can go take, and you don't have to wait for your school to take your children. You can take your children. Well, thanks so much for your friendship, and thank you so much for
Absolutely,
everything
TJ.
you're doing, DeSoto County, man. You're so cool.
Well, you're cool. You're
thanks
cooler. TJ,
Thanks
you're
so
great.
much
Thank you
for coming in.
Thank you,
Thank
my
you.
friend. Thank you.
This has been TJ Cates with the DeSoto County Newsroom and
Robert Lee Long.